Ever wondered how difficult it could be to win more than one UFC? Yeah, there are a lot of good fighters, but some stood out as gods. They didn't just win many UFCs, they did it in a row. It would have taken these fighters a great deal of skill, determination, and effort to achieve this level of success. Continue watching to see the legends who were defiant and had remarkable winning streaks in UFC. Alexander Volkanovski is the first person to be mentioned with 11 winning streaks. The list of the top 10 professionals with the longest winning streak begins with reigning UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski. The Australian has won every match in the UFC in addition to his 11-fight winning run. The Great, who has a 13-1 record, has joined the strongest promotion in the world. On November 26, 2016, Alexander competed for the first time at UFC Fight Night 101. Volkanovski won against Mizuto Hirota by technical knockout at this event, starting his successful UFC career. At UFC 245 on December 14, 2019, the Australian fighter won the featherweight championship by unanimous decision against Max Holloway. His most recent win in the series was on April 9, 2022. The best wins during the run were the Korean Zombie, Jose Aldo, Chad Mendes, and Max Holloway twice. Being just 33 years old, Alex Volkanovski has a fantastic possibility to not only boost his performance but even take the top spot in this rating. The Australian acknowledged his boredom with the division and his intention to go up to lightweight. We shall pay particular attention to Alexander the Great's career. Moving on to the next on the list, Tony Ferguson with 12 straight wins. For over 6 years, Tony Ferguson, a true UFC icon, has crushed every opponent he has faced, giving them no chance. At UFC 166 in October 2013, El Cucuy started a winning run. Tony entered the octagon intending to defeat Mike Rio after falling to Michael Johnson. Ferguson used his preferred maneuver, the Brabo choke, to quickly choke out his opponent. In his prime, Tony caught Kevin Lee in a triangle choke on October 7, 2017 to claim an interim lightweight belt of the UFC. On May 9, 2020, the deadly streak of 12 victories in a row came to a stop. El Cucuy was defeated by Justin Gaethje with a technical knockout in the UFC 249 event. The 38-year-old Ferguson is nearing the end of his professional career. Tony lost 3 consecutive fights before realizing he will never have the chance to face Khabib Nurmagomedov. All El Cucuy supporters will be able to appreciate their favorite's performance on May 8th when he competes against Michael Chandler at UFC 274. A talented fighter who has excelled in the UFC may retire after this match. The best victories in the streak remain the smashing of Edson Barboza, Anthony Pettis, Rafael Dos Anjos, Kevin Lee, and Donald Cerrone. Next up is Amanda Nunes, also with 12 win streaks. She is one of the toughest female fighters in MMA history, and she has had incredible success in the UFC. In March 2015, she began a winning streak. The Lioness ended a loss to Kat Zingano at UFC Fight Night 62 by technical knocking out Shayna Baszler. Over the course of the following 6 years, Nunes won trophies and defeated her opponents without suffering a setback. The Brazilian choked Miesha Tate on July 9, 2016 at UFC 200 to win the title of Women's Bantamweight. In order to capture the Women's Bantamweight Championship on December 29, 2018, Nunes violently knocked out Chris Cyborg in the 51st second of their fight at UFC 232. It appears as though Amanda Nunes would maintain her controlling approach for some time as she effortlessly defeated her opponents. Juliana Pena, however, was prepared to refute that. Juliana beat Nunes on December 11, 2021, and the result was one of the biggest upsets in MMA in recent memory. Next, Max Holloway with consecutive 13 wins. Who would have imagined that Max Holloway, who has already dropped 2 straight matches, would go on to enjoy one of the promotion's longest victory streaks? At UFC Fight Night 34 in January 2014, Max defeated Will Choate by TKO to start his rise within the promotion. At UFC 206 on December 10, 2016, Blessed used a TKO to capture the interim featherweight title over Anthony Pettis. 6 months later, Holloway defeated Jose Aldo to claim the championship title. His drive put an end to Max's amazing run. Holloway made the decision to switch to lightweight on April 13th in order to challenge Dustin Poirier for the interim championship. 5 rounds were used in the bout, with Poirier winning every round. Demetrius Johnson comes up next with 13 wins. One of the greats of the UFC, Mighty Mouse, is the first first competitor on the list today who is no longer on the roster. In 2012, Johnson started on the path of success. Demetrius faced Ian McCall in the UFC flyweight tournament semifinals in March 2012. However, the contest was a draw and no winner was declared. Demetrius won the rematch against him by a unanimous decision on June 8th of that same year. The American earned the championship he held until 2018 by defeating Joseph Benavidez by a split decision at UFC 152 in September 2012. The historic match happened in August 2018. Mighty Mouse signed with ONE FC after leaving the promotion after losing to Henry Cejudo in a rematch at UFC 227 by a split decision. Next is Jon Jones with 13 straight wins. The horrific and great Jon Jones could have been at the top of this list, but his shenanigans have damaged both his career and his personal life. Jones knocked out Brandon Vera in March 2010 and then swept the light heavyweight category. Jones won the title belt on March 19, 2021 by KOing Mauricio Rua. After testing positive for clomiphene and letrozole, Jones would subsequently lose the championship, but the American was still able to regain the top spot. Jones's winning streak was broken by folly rather than failure. On July 29th at UFC 214, John defeated Daniel Cormier in a rematch, but it was later found out that Jones had tested positive for a metabolite, changing the outcome of the match to failed. The next is Georges St. Pierre, also with 13 consecutive wins. August 2007 marked the beginning of the Canadian's winning run. By then, George had already won and lost the welterweight championship of the promotion twice. GSP defeated Josh Koscheck by decision at UFC 74. At UFC 79 on December 29, 2007, St. Pierre won the interim welterweight championship by armbarring Matt Hughes to complete a trilogy victory. The Canadian won the title by TKO against Matt Serra in a rematch in April 2008. George never again gave up his crown until his career was up. Additionally, on November 4, 2017, GSP made his fourth visit to the Octagon and defeated Michael Bisping to win the middleweight title. St. Pierre eventually called it quits on his professional career following the victory. The Canadian has had an incredible career in the UFC as he rose to become one of the best fighters in the league's history. Our only disappointment is that GSP never engaged in the anticipated matchup with Khabib Nurmagomedov. Khabib Nurmagomedov also had a winning streak of 13. The excellent fighter who became the first Russian UFC champion deserves some discussion. When the unbeaten Eagle first entered the UFC in 2012, he beat Kamal Shaloras with a choke grip. Khabib steadily prevailed over his opponents, and at UFC 223, he defeated Al Iaquinta by a majority decision to claim the vacant lightweight championship. At UFC 254 on October 24, 2020, Khabib successfully defended his championship by submitting Justin Gaethje. Nurmagomedov abruptly declared the end of his professional career after the bout. The promotion administration made an effort to sway Khabib's choice, but the Russian fighter refused. Khabib Nurmagomedov had the option of carrying on with his performances and enhancing his record, but he went in a different direction. The Eagle FC promotion is one of the many projects that Eagle is now actively pursuing. Next, the Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman, with 15 straight victories. In the 2015 season finale of The Ultimate Fighter, Kamaru, a fierce fighter labeled the Nigerian Nightmare, defeated Haider Hassan to start his winning run in the UFC. 4 years later, on March 2, 2019, Usman won the welterweight championship by defeating Tyron Woodley in a unanimous decision at UFC 235. At the moment, Kamaru is the undisputed welterweight champion. All of the best fighters in his weight division have been defeated by Usman, some of them even twice. The frontrunner in this ranking for the top place is Kamaru Usman. To top this list, the fighter needs just 2 more victories. In the near future, it appears that only Khamzat Chimaev will be able to provide a serious challenge to the Nigerian Nightmare. Finally, the man who tops the list, Anderson Silva, with 16 wins. The current ranking is topped by the one and only Spider. When Silva first joined the UFC in 2006, he faced Chris Leben in a pre-title match at UFC Fight Night 5. In the 49th second of the opening frame, the Brazilian kneed out his opponent. When Silva defeated Rich Franklin on October 14, 2006, he was crowned the UFC middleweight title. Before Spider lost his championship to Chris Weidman at UFC 162 in July 2013, he had nearly 7 years to hold it. While having retired from MMA Anderson Silva, 47, continues to train. The illustrious Brazilian is currently a professional boxer. It is important to note that Silva will compete again on May 14th against Bruno Machado. The co-main event of the boxing event in Dubai will be this contest. Floyd Mayweather and Don Moore are the featured athletes in this episode. There you have it. The UFC competitors with the most remarkable winning streaks have been highlighted. Now is a great time for Alex Volkanovski and Kamaru Usman to considerably strengthen their positions. Subscribe to get more intriguing news like this. You can drop suggestions on what to expect. Thanks.